And ladies and gentlemen, we are now live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and sportnarium.com/player. It is another Five Towns takeover here of Sportswire Radio. And I'm really excited about this guest here because she has done a phenomenal job in representing the Five Towns athletics program. She is as decorated as anybody's here when it comes to the sport of volleyball, and for our athletics department did a phenomenal job this past season, of course, guiding our sound to the 2021 Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference regular season championship. And we got a synopsis of what's to come here with our guest because, well, we spoke with the captain of the team, Emily Angel Astro, and it took us a while to figure out how to pronounce her name, but obviously shout out to our guest and our coach here to help us figure that out. And we're going to get to it here. So without further ado here on the Sports Your Birthday #1 Global Sports Show with our head coach for our Five Town Sound women's volleyball team. That's Christy Herring. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you here. It's a tremendous honor, and we've been looking to have this here for a while with you. Obviously, we spoke with everybody else here, I think, in the athletics department, but we said, you know what? Let's get to the main event. Let's get to the best. We talk a lot of wrestling here. We just had on the world champion back in the UK for the LWF right now. Though, let's get our world champion here for our our athletics program, and especially our women's volleyball team. That is Coach Christy Herring. So I could not think of a better way than to continue to put 2022 on the right foot and get us into the good foot for our athletics program. And Coach, again, it is a tremendous honor and set the tables for us on what a season it was and some of the keys to winning our Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference regular season championship.
Well, firstly, I want to thank you. I'm sorry about last week. I mean, I was a little under the weather, and I felt like I want to give you my 100%
No,
all the
everybody's
time.
under the weather. I listen. I
So
mean, everybody's under the weather these days. I'm lucky
I
that
just
I'm like bulletproof, but everybody else
exact. I
is
mean,
sick.
thankfully, it was not COVID related, so it was good. But I just didn't want to get on here and give you half of me. I want,
I
I believe
appreciate
in,
that. Listen, I had a wrestling referee a few weeks ago, and he was sniffling through the whole time. Loved the
yeah.
guy to death, and it was like maybe we should have did the interview. And 2 days later, he had COVID, so you never
Yeah,
know.
so yeah, I was like, not the look I'm going for. So no, but yeah, so Five Towns this whole year has been kind of whirlwind for us. We didn't know what to expect going in. We kind of like, said, we're gonna take it, one step at a time, and put our best foot forward every game as much as possible. We really focused on the team dynamic. That is the game changer for us. These girls are not just teammates, these girls are family. And that's the big difference for us and what changed from year 1 to year 2 or year 3 minus COVID. So, that made a huge difference for us. With these girls, I put together a team that really could be cohesive and really love each other. Because at the end of the day, outside of the court, outside of those four lines, they still need to be able to get along and do those things because what transpires off transpires on. So we needed to make sure that that was something that we were good with. And I have to say that from beginning to end, with every hiccup in between, these are young women. They are going to be catty. Things are going to happen. But these girls have really been godsend. They really put in the work. And that is all that I really asked of them. So put in the work, put in the effort, and just trust me. Trust me that I'm going to do my best and I'm going to give them 110% all the time between myself and my assistant. I mean, we really love these kids, and that to me makes all the difference. We put our heart and soul into this program. This is not just a job for me. This is literally my life. I have been coaching volleyball for longer than these girls are alive,
I
for the
wasn't going to
most
ask
part.
that point, but I get it.
Yeah, and like different things like that. Like just that was the biggest thing for us. I mean, we had so many highs and lows this season, between injuries and like little things here and there. it made a difference. And seeing the girls be able to triumph in during all those things, all those adversities, all the bad that was happening, like outside the lines, and trying to just figure out how to make it work. um, it was beautiful to watch. It was, as a coach, as a person, as a mom, it's beautiful to see the transformation and to see these girls really create something bigger than what I anticipated. So, like, that's how I saw this season. This season, though, didn't end the way we wanted it to. It still ended with something that was bigger than what we anticipated. Yes, we wanted to win, conference championships. Um, but previously, when we were in this the first year, like, we got there, but we didn't get there the same way. Like, this time we truly earned that. Like, that regular season championship, that was ours. And the conference was ours to lose or to win. Either or. Um, Kings came with a different mentality that day. Um, our girls really wanted it. We had a couple of injuries that sidelined, some key players, but at the end of the day, the girls that were out there gave their 110%. And, we came up short this time, but I promise you won't come up short again.
Oh, I got a good feeling 2022 is going to be the year of our women's volleyball team. And there's a lot to dissect, and I'll get back to because there's a few different things you said in terms of the overall team, the family-like atmosphere, and I'll get to that. But because you mentioned the championship game, I want to ask you a question because you said a couple different things there, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you this question. So the Kings game, everything that happened that day, in terms of where we are now, where we want to be, for you personally, and then I'll get to the girls' point of view. How much have you thought about the championship game since that day?
I literally watched it the minute I got home. Like, it's not even like something like I cried with those girls, not just for the loss, but for the feeling that's something that doesn't leave you. But what I took from that was, we know where we were, we know what we lost, and we know we don't want to be there again. And so, watching that game back, just looking at the mistakes that were made, honestly, I chalk it up to a lot of nerves. There's a lot of underclassmen on my team who have never been there before,
Mm.
and it's hard. It's hard to go into that with these great expectations and the world on your shoulders. Literally, that's how they felt. And as a coach, I'm sitting here going, what else is there possibly that I could have done? And there really was nothing really left for on the table. I literally pulled out all the cards, and at the end of the day, things didn't fall our way. And I just will, take that, put it under, put it away somewhere and lock it up, because that's something I want to not forget, but know that I don't want to revisit that.
But don't you also think, in a sense, let's try to spin the positive from it because it's a team that's young. We're going to see a lot of these players.
That's what I'm saying, exactly.
So I know we're going to lose Emily Angel Astro, but the rest of this core as a whole is going to be back mostly. So sometimes there's an adage in sports, and I come on and speak with all different types of people in all walks of life. I'm sure you've seen and heard by now. But we have to learn how to win, right? You got to learn you lose sometimes first before you learn how to win. You see it all the
Absolutely.
time. You've been a very, 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 very successful coach and player. You've done a lot of fantastic things.
Thank you.
I got to think, though, at the end of the day, let's try to look at the positive here for us going into 2022 because we went through this. I said, you know what? This was a game we could have won. We had a couple different things that happened. But at the end of the day, we went through it. It makes us stronger. It makes us know when you ask the girls to go out and practice or you ask the girls for the Zooms or the group chats, whatever else it might be, they're now going to pay more attention because they saw that defeat. They saw that Kings walked into our home and took that championship. So I
Yeah.
got to think, in a sense, that's got to be one positive. We got to
Oh,
spin it with the
absolutely.
way. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. That it's exactly what I was trying to, I guess, come across and say. Like, we put that away, but that's something that we're using. That's a feeling that we're using. That's something that we need to move forward from and let it fuel us for the next year. What we things we don't want and the things we do want. Like those things are so important for these girls to remember. It's really important to experience loss. Because if you don't experience loss when it finally does happen, it's like world ending. It really is.
Well,
It's
listen,
like one of these
everybody
things.
has to lose, right? And some
Yeah,
people keep
somebody
winning.
does. It just happened to be us this time, and that's not the plans for next time.
Well, we know that. Listen, we know that we're going to win the next like 10 championships. You're going to be coach of the year 10 more times. We're going to be number one in the country, all that stuff. So listen, don't worry.
From
Listen,
your lips to up there.
no lips to God's ears. I know I'm a reverend. I get it all the time. But obviously, listen, we know that, listen, let your hearts not be troubled. And I want to give a few shout outs because obviously somebody that's been a big part to the Five Towns family, Star Fuentes, is watching. The very lovely Star Fuentes. Want to give her a huge shout out because she's watching. Also want to give a shout out to Coach Jason Facina, of course, of the men's soccer team. And he chimed in saying that we got this next year.
That's my bestie. That's my coach bestie.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that. Listen, I'm glad you said Coach Facina rather than Anthony Alfaro. I'm just kidding. Pretend you never heard that. But obviously, shout out to Coach Facina. But obviously, again, we know that you were going to definitely get the job done. But in looking back, obviously, you talked about some things I want to go back to in terms of the family atmosphere. There's one reason I think that the athletics program, including this team here, is on the track to where we've accomplished so much, even through a pandemic and even such a short amount of time, is that it's truly a family atmosphere at Five Towns. And I'm not going to BS you. I speak with all different types of people all the time, right? And you could tell when some people, it's fake and some others are real. At Five Towns here, I think it's real between you, your assistant coach Camerata, the entire team that you've put together. That's why I think that we're so successful. Why has it been here from your vantage point that your team and everybody else here at Five Towns, it's been such a family-like atmosphere for the entire athletics department?
I think for the most part, let's touch on like Coach Jason Facina. We came in together. We all started together. We jumped into the fire all at one time, and we were like, let's do it, and let's hit the ground running, and let's just do this together. And we have literally been doing that, blood, sweat, and tears, from Matt, to Coach Christina, to all the coaches. My assistant is near and dear to me. We've been friends for.
We're gonna get to that.
Yeah, we've been friends forever. So I think that's really where it starts from from the bottom up. Matt has created a team that that is really truly special. These people here that are creating something and building something together, and I think that's what makes us so family oriented. We literally know what it means to be a family, and we have each other's backs. That is the huge difference maker as far as what I can see. In my experience being at Five Towns and being other places.
Oh, you've been in a number of different places. You've been some big time places. That's why I asked this question, because some of the other coaches,
it's very different.
Right. And some of the other coaches, God bless them here, they don't have the experience. You've been at the big places. I mean, Christ the King High School, St. Francis, LIU, Brooklyn. I mean, the average person on the street, McClancy, knows these places. So you can kind of tell the difference between it's fake and when it's real. And
absolutely.
I feel it's real here because, like you, I can tell you the same thing. And I think that's what makes this program, and you girls are a huge part of it, on why I think it is real here.
It is absolutely real, 100%. These people at Five Towns, from administration, like everybody's supportive. You can tell at the games and stuff, like we're all around all the time. The only reason I'm not at Five Towns at every game right now is because I also coach club volleyball. So I'm kind of like splitting my time from everywhere, plus recruiting for the next season. So it's a little, I'm splitting my time everywhere, but I support 100%. My girls go to the games. I make sure that if I can't be there, we are represented. And that is something that's really important. And we do that for each other. Every team does that for one another. And that is the difference maker. When you look in the stands, you see Five Towns. It's simple as that. You see athletics, you see the presence of them. That is something that you can't say you find everywhere. Sure, people come up to show games and like come and check things out, but these kids are there. The staff is in the building, watching the game, supporting us. it's a beautiful thing to see. Actually, it's really different. Coming from a small school right now, it's to see that in itself right there tells you what kind of family this is.
No question about it. And like I said, I've covered different schools. I've even attended games at different schools, and you'd see it's almost like cliquish. Five Town, it's not like that. I mean, I talked to the girls' soccer team. I talked to obviously Emily came on. I talked to the basketball team. I talked to the men's soccer teams, and everybody's all friends with each other. Everybody, we're on the same page. Like I said, I speak with other schools, and it's the SID doesn't really quite want to have you speak with this person or the players on the other teams. And they don't want to be with each other. And I'm not going to single people out. They know who they are. But the fact of the matter here is at Five Towns, we don't have that here. And I also want to ask you a couple different things on some individual accolades here. What was important about this season and why it still, to me, at the end of the day, was very successful. What did it mean to you guys to all be a part of coaching staff of the year in the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference?
Oh, that's listening to you repeat that like literally just gave my body chills.
I hope it's good chills, not like last
It
year.
is, it is, it is. It's something that is like probably the biggest honor that I myself and my coach could have gotten. Um, we work hard and we really put everything into this. And this, like I said before, this is not a job to me. This is what I do. This is my life. Everything I do is for this sport and for these kids. And being recognized by, the coaches of other teams and schools that we play against. These people are in our conference and they voted on me and my assistant as the coaching staff. Like, it was mind blowing, and literally, like the guy from the Hudson Valley that gave me the award, literally
Sure.
was like, he was like, "It's okay, coach," because I was in tears because it, it felt like I loved getting the award, but I'd give it back 100 times for those girls to have won that championship. And that, though, it means great things for me, and like, ooh, I can put another trophy on the, stand there. It's great, but I would have given it back, if it meant these girls could have won that championship. That's truly where my heart is on that.
Well, spoken like a true coach, spoken like a true advocate for her team. So I could certainly appreciate that, though. But again, still a tremendous honor. And I'll repeat it again.
Absolutely.
Congratulations on you and Coach Camerata being the
Thank you.
Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Coaches of the Year. So I'll repeat it for you, and I'll continue to repeat it for you because that's what we do. Because we come from the wrestling world, and in the wrestling world, you have to make sure you announce that person's name and the championship they hold over and over and over. So I'll make sure I continue to repeat that for you, Coach. But I also wanted to get to some of the individual accolades for our team, and you had some recent All-Americans here in the USCA, which is a very, very big deal. That's a bigger deal than the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, obviously.
Yep.
And Brianna and obviously Emily Angel Astro, who came on the show not too long ago. And what did that mean to you? Because I know it's great in terms of what you guys are doing on the court, but the fact that we have all Americans, all academic teams, and that's a big deal because at the end of the day, they're here to go and get an education and represent this school, most importantly, in the classroom. So for your vantage point, talk to me on the fact that we had all Americans this year, all academic, and for our program.
Okay. So, as far as all academic, that is something that we strive for without the accolades. I am a proponent of do well in the classroom. That is where it counts the most because at the end of the day, 4 years from now, you're graduating, going into the real world. That's where it's most important. Do I want you to give me everything on the court? Absolutely. And I want you to get those things. But at the end of the day, you need to be successful in the classroom in order to be successful on my court. And that's just plain old rules number one. And, we're big on school here. So it's beautiful to see my kids, flourish in the classroom. And, I know they're smart because I recruited them that way. I recruited girls who can be responsible and know what they need to do in the classroom so that it was one less thing that they had to worry about on the court. I knew that they had that discipline, and that was really important when I was recruiting them. They're being academically sound is super important in athletics. It teaches you responsibility, discipline, organization, a lot of different things, time management, all those things. And so being able to, do it well and be recognized for it is, a really big thing, especially in the conference, in the USCAA. It's not just Hudson Valley. Like you're talking about, the USCAA. This is nationally. They're being nationally ranked for these things, for their accolades in the classroom, which is super important because we don't want to take away from the fact that this is what they're actually doing. They're going to school. They're not just coming to play ball. They're going to school, and seeing them be champions in the classroom is a great feeling for me. And I know it is for them as well. As far as All Americans, I mean, I didn't expect anything different for her. If she hadn't gotten that, I think I would have been like up in arms because I mean, this girl led the conference in digs per set, in digs
Oh, we talked
total,
about it a
you
couple of
know,
weeks ago. We were
service
reading the stats off.
aces.
Yep.
Like there was no doubt in my mind that she belonged up there. And the fact that she was recognized and it was out there, like we had a party. We literally had a party to watch this because we knew. In my heart, I knew that she deserved to be there, and I thought they would do right by her, and they did. And we celebrated, we jumped for joy, like we got her reaction on camera. It was a nice, moment, and it really, she's a tremendous loss for us, as far as on the court, as far as a person. My hopes is that we see her back on the sideline standing next to me next year. So I'm putting that out there. She knows it. I put it out there to her. Um, she belongs on that sideline, and she belongs a part of this program still. And I think that it would be a detriment to the program to not have her around. She just exudes everything that I need in a player. I can just see her becoming an amazing coach one day. So, like for me, seeing that happen and seeing her honored in that way, I mean, there's nothing better than that for me as a coach to see, one of my kids recognized for what they've done and what they deserve.
Ladies and gentlemen, so you definitely heard it here first, live on Sportswire Radio, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and sportnarium.com/player. Coach Christy Herring is calling out Emily Angel Astor to say, listen, we need you as a coach. We need you back on staff. We can't have you leave the Five Towns family because she has meant so much to this program and most importantly to this team. So Coach clearly knows her audience. Coach is clearly knowing what we do here because we do a lot of wrestling and a lot of feuds and a lot of back and forth. So not to that tone, obviously, but certainly to the tune is the fact that Emily, we need you on the sidelines because we want to finish the job. We want to bring home that conference championship. We want to go to the Nationals. We want to join the other teams here at Five Towns. And I think that
Hmm.
Coach Herring's got a plan. And these are reasons why we are very honored to have her here on the Sports Report, live with us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. Of course, if you like what you hear from the Five Towns College women's volleyball team, please give them a follow on Instagram at FTC Women's Volleyball and find out why you want to go see Coach Herring. Find out why you want to watch this team. Find out why you want to find out more information on this team. Also, give her a follow on Instagram, VBCoach07. So that's easy to remember. Just find out more information, how to get involved with this program. If you're a prospective player, this is the place you want to go to. It's Five Towns because Five Towns, you've heard so far how we treat our players. You've seen how well we do in the classroom. We give our students the opportunities, whether it's the mass communications program, whether it's our business majors, whether it's the radio program, whether it's so many things you can do here at Five Towns. I'm going to guarantee you ain't getting that elsewhere. That's why you need to get involved with Coach Herring and, of course, follow the entire Five Towns College athletics program on Instagram at 5Towns_sound. And of course, cheap plug for me. If you like Sportswire Radio, please give us a follow and like on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, no matter rain, sleet, snow, you name it. Sportnarium.com/player. You get all of our great shows. We play stuff like Five Towns College. We also have music. We have talk. We have sports, wrestling, you name it. I'll play it. That's why you go over to sportnarium.com/player. And we are talking all things related here to the Five Town Sound women's volleyball team with our esteemed coach. She was one half of the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Coach of the Year and our regular season champions. That is, of course, the very great, the very esteemed Christy Herring. And Coach, I always like to ask this question. I'll get back to the season. I'll get back to some of the players. But I always like to ask it, no matter who I have on the show, how'd you get into volleyball?
Well, it's kind of like a weird and funny story all at the same time. I come from Brooklyn, New York.
Well, where are you from in Brooklyn, I have to ask you?
Williamsburg.
Wow, okay, Williamsburg. I had a buddy that lived in Greenpoint on Lorimer Street.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I literally was born and raised in Williamsburg,
South
Brooklyn.
or north?
Literally outskirts of it,
Okay.
on the outside of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was a young kid, I was very athletic. I loved like different kinds of sports and things. And I actually was very into gymnastics. That was my thing since I was like 2. And around 6th grade, I went to a Catholic school. A nun in my school, which was like, oh, I want to teach volleyball and stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't know anything about it, but I'll try, kind of thing. And she grabbed like 12 girls out of like, the school. And during recess, because, we still had recess back then. During recess, instead of going outside, we'd go into the gym and she'd teach us volleyball, like literally the little ins and outs of volleyball. And I started to like fall in love with it a little bit, but it wasn't something major at that point. I was still really into gymnastics and I was like, whatever. When I got to Christ the King, I was actually a really good runner. And one of my best friends went to Christ the King with me and she was like, join the track team with me. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to run. Like, that's a lot. Like, no, maybe not. So then I was like, oh, they have volleyball here. I know a little bit about that. I said, I'll take my chances. And on my own, without my friend that was going to school with me, I said, I'm going to try out. And I tried out and made the team. And my life changed from that moment. Volleyball became life, literally, in that moment. And, every coach that was introduced into my life from that point forward was someone that taught me something. And my mentor is still my friend today. Mike Masson is who took over one of the programs at Christ the King my junior or senior year. And he rode me like an animal, and it was horrible. It was a horrible experience, but at the same time, it was humbling and changed my life. That man changed my life. There are people who hate him because he was mean and stuff, but he's no longer mean. He's just different. And ironically, after I left Christ the King, I ended up at LIU. And 2 years later, he became my coach at LIU. And it was like, this is kismet. This is the guy who's going to teach me everything I need to know. This is the one. I feel it. And I tell you, I wouldn't be the coach I am today without that man. He really changed my life as far as volleyball is concerned. Like, he really taught me so much about the game. And that's where volleyball, the love started for me. I little by little through high school, like 6th grade, like I was a little there. But by the time I got to college and like he stepped into the program, it was game over. That was it. This is what I wanted. And I was in love, like truly in love. That was like something that nobody can take from me. That's a skill and things that I am, the person to create from. So it was just it's been a great this has been a great thing for me.
Oh, I could certainly see why, and I could certainly see why important people are still in your life to this day. We'll get to one of those people, obviously, on your staff, I'm sure you've heard of. But you talked about volleyball, and this is what I've always liked about the game of volleyball. And you talked about some of those things, and I always enjoyed it because when I was speaking with Emily, I had spoke about when I was in gym class. That was in McKinley Junior High School. One of my fondest memories. I didn't have too many fond memories when I was in junior high school. But one of those was when my gym teachers, it was Mr. Dubovsky and Mr. Paris, would go out and set up the volleyball net. We get to play volleyball. We played for 15 minutes, whatever it was, 20 if we were lucky. And it was a fun game. And I could see why some of those things that you picked up when it comes to being on the court and being a responsible coach. I mean, so in a sense, why is volleyball in your mind such a great game, but also most importantly, such a team game?
Wow. That's a big question.
Oh, I'm used to asking
uh,
loaded questions. I had one this morning with a champion, and I asked him the
no,
question.
yeah.
It was a loaded
It's
question. I know.
yeah, it really is. It's this game is so mental that you know you learn so much about yourself. I think that in itself is a, a difference maker when you're looking at how to become part of a team and what is volleyball different, what makes volleyball different. People look at volleyball in gym, like you're talking about. They're like, oh, it's so fun. It is fun, but the skill that it takes to do it right is tedious and time consuming and so precise. Like it is like science. And it takes a person with real ability to be mentally strong to be
Mhm.
able to play this game and do it successfully. Anybody can go out there and learn, but to do it successfully and cohesively as a team takes a really strong mental aspect, a lot of working out. It's a lot of physical, pain and suffering sometimes, but that at the end of the day, you do it together. You're not one person striving for a goal. You're six, 12, depending on how many, you're six on a court, but your team can comprise of 12, 15 players, um, they're all striving for one goal and you're doing it together. It takes 3 hits to get the ball over the net. Sure, you could play ping pong one back and forth, but at the end of the day, that's not volleyball. You know what I mean? That's not the game. And relying on everybody to do their job and do it well is something that creates a whole different kind of team dynamic. That creates a whole nother atmosphere. And I think that's why this game is so important to young women. It's growing in young men too, which I love. But it's growing. It's been so big for young women because it is a sport that requires more than one person to be successful. You can't
Mhm.
have just one star on a team. That's not going to happen. It's not going to do anything for you.
Mhm.
Everybody needs to contribute. The same person can't touch the ball twice in a row. So somebody always has to be in the mix, kind of thing.
Sure.
So they grow to trust one another. The camaraderie, the relationships that they build, they take far beyond this. And I think that is really something that young women look for in just their social being, it's social health, and being able to be, stronger in just outside of, being pretty and being, this or being that. This is something that they don't have to worry about any of that. This is them being themselves on the court and doing it together with somebody else that may be totally different from them and still working, and that is the beauty behind this sport. You have 6 different people working at the same time for the same goal and being successful at it.
No, no question. And again, I think that those are some of the things here in this sport that I think sets it apart compared to, well, almost all the other sports because of some of those intangibles that I think are really important. That's why, again, I always enjoyed it. I wasn't very good at it, Coach, obviously. I was better at other things like this, but
You just didn't
volleyball
have
was,
me
again,
coach you. That's why.
that's what I probably should have happened. I should have went to Ice the King or somewhere else, and you would have been my coach, and I might be on your staff instead of being on the mic and
Ah,
interviewing you. But
you like
it
what you
happened.
do. You love what you do. You're
Uh,
where you're supposed to
well, I
be.
mean, we're hurt in 13 countries. I don't want to brag. I'm hurt in 13 countries. But at the
Exactly.
end of the
You
day, I
love what you
mean,
do. That's not a job.
and I like to joke, and before we get back to it, and I'm getting killed for it, but I'm going to say I'm kind of like the Howard Stern in some UK towns. So at this
I
point,
love
we've
it.
done okay. We've done okay in life, but I'm curious about something about the sport of volleyball and how you recruit, because I've heard from the soccer coaches, I've heard from the basketball coaches, in terms of what you look for in a great volleyball player. Because again, you're a great player, a great coach. You have an eye for volleyball more than anybody that I'll probably ever know. When it comes to recruiting for this sport, for those great players, for the season that we had this year, what is that process like? And maybe how is it different, or even how is it more difficult than, let's say, these other sports, like, I don't know, a basketball or a soccer as examples?
Well, first off, coaching women's sports is a totally different game change, a different animal.
Okay.
I say that because young women know what they want long before they get to college.
Okay.
Okay,
I still don't know
so
what I want, Coach. At this point, I still don't know what I want.
you
But that's
see,
tough.
boys are easy. Like they could be like coaxed into something else. You want to try this? Sure. I swear, I live by that motto because I've seen it firsthand.
Okay. Okay.
Kind of thing.
Sure.
Girls know what they want, and at Five Towns we have great majors, but we don't have some of the majors that a lot of young female athletes are looking for right now.
Sure.
It's really big, and girls out there want to be teachers, and they want to be nurses, or physical therapists. Five Towns is more business, media, communication. So honestly, like, it does make it difficult to recruit young women in volleyball, and then take that part too. But that
Mm.
being said, we go out there and we recruit and we look for girls that want to play volleyball, like
Mm.
really want to play. And we look at, those majors and stuff. I look at that ahead of time. And yeah, there are some girls that maybe are still outside of our, realm of where we are at the school as far as what we're offering. And sometimes I take the shot anyway, but realistically, I look at their majors, I look at their GPAs, and then I go and look at their videos. Um, Honestly, like, videos are nice and I like to see skill, and that's all great and dandy. But I tell every recruit I talk to, because they're like, "Oh, how'd you like my video?" And I tell them, "Your video's great, but I wasn't looking at your skill." And they were like, "What do you mean, coach? Like, isn't that the point?" And I say, "Absolutely not. A real coach, a good coach, is looking at what happens after the play is made. What happens when the ball is down and you hit that ball? That's the highlight reel you just gave me, right? You hit the ball down, you make this perfect set, make this perfect pass. How are your teammates reacting to you? What is happening? What dynamic happens there?" And truthfully, that is how I recruit for
Mm.
Five Towns, because I want girls whose teammates like them, whose teammates want to be around them. That tells me that they're a team player. That tells me that they're likable and they're not going to be the drama queen on the team. They're going to be part of the success and the goal, and they want to be a part of that. And we get on Zoom calls with these girls, and it's great because I always have somebody from the team on a call with me, because I think it's really important that they get the coaches aspect, but they get the aspect from the team and what they see. And that to me has been the game changer for us in being able to recruit. These girls feel like they're at home talking to their this coach, but they're talking to a potential teammate and really like excited about it. And we that's how I go about it. I mean, I'm not doing anything, you know, crazy. I'm just looking for girls who really love the sport like we do, and really want to be a part of something that's a family, really want to be a part of home.
No, I could certainly see that. And it's funny you said a couple of different things about players who send you the mixtapes because there was a friend of mine, I don't want to name names. He was a basketball coach, and he used to have a very, very famous podcast. This is a while back. And one of the things when he was interviewing one of these coaches, he would say, all these players would send me mixtapes, and it's like a minute of them dunking or shooting three-pointers. And it's the same sense in volleyball. You could send all the service aces and the digs, but what happens when you're in that awkward moment? What happens when you're in that moment? Just like with that basketball coach, they didn't care about the whole tape of dunks. They didn't care about the 3-pointers. They didn't care about the crowd roars. No, they wanted to see where you were in that situation, in that moment of need, that fear of flight moment. That's kind of the same what you're looking for here. And I think that that's fascinating. And something else I want to talk about because you just brought up is obviously we had Emily on. I know Emily has been on those group chats when it comes to recruiting a player. I mean, that I think sets you guys apart in that I wouldn't have thought of that, right? Let's say I'm a coach. That's why, thank God, I'm not a coach because I wouldn't have thought, geez, let me get my star player or some of my other players, whether it's Hayley or Jonah, and get them on and speak to a player. Because you know what? If I'm a prospective player and I'm already speaking to the star player, I'm hearing about them, about who you are as a coach, because it's great. I could hear you about as a coach all day. I could sing your praises. But at the end of the day, if a player, somebody who's underneath has had those experiences, I really think that that's important. And I really think that, well, I only hope that we do it here at Five Town so we get all the best players. So I don't want to say, I hope everybody else doesn't do it because I only want it to happen here at Five Towns. But that's something that I really think sets you guys apart. And when did that come to mind to kind of figure that out here?
I think it was really early on. We were, COVID happened and everything became Zoom related, and
Yeah.
like, you couldn't go actually recruit these girls and stuff. Like, it was really hard, and we had to figure out, be creative. And, when I sat and thought about it, I was like, I could talk my face off about how great the program is, and how, what I bring to the table, and, what I want from them and why I want them. But the reality is that the people who they're going to be day in and day out with are their teammates. And those people, they have to get along with from the jump. If they don't get along or they don't like each other, it's already a bad mix. And honestly, like, we just decided that I was like, hey girls, anybody interested in wanting to get on a call with a potential recruit for the next year? And they're everybody, yeah, I'm in. Let me know, coach. And that's the kind of atmosphere we've created. These girls want to be a part of everything. So much so that, we literally, they're ingrained in everything that we do. And that just became something that we now do. So when I have a recruiting call, I send the text out, to, I know who's available. Hey, you're going to be available that day? Yes, coach, I'm in. And they find a way. Sometimes they're driving and they're like, coach, I'm going to park, like, I'm going to get on. And like, it's just that kind of commitment that I get from those girls. And that is the difference maker on how recruiting is done easier for us, because these girls are a part of it.
I think that's important because again, you have some really, really good players, and I'm going to get to them here in a second. But I really think that that's again a big deal, and that could set you apart from these other schools because again, I wouldn't have thought, hey, you know what? Let me get my player on here. Let's do a Zoom or a call, or I don't know if you use WhatsApp or in a WhatsApp chat, whatever it might be, and say, you know what? Here you go. Because like I said, you're great. Coach Camarada is great. But to hear from an Emily, to hear from a Jonna or a Haley, that's a big deal. And I want to know, start talking about some of those other players because we've heard from Emily. We know Emily's deal. I'll ask you a thought or two again on Emily at the end of the segment. But talk to me about some of these other players that were a big reason as to why you guys won the Hudson Valley this year in the regular season. And the first one of those is Jonah Hunt. Talk about Jonna and how the season she had and how big she was for this team.
I fought real hard for Jonna. Let me put it that way.
I'm
I
glad you did.
fought.
He was a big deal for
I
us.
I really did. I went to the mats for her so that we can make sure that she was part of this. Um, she was someone that I saw such great potential in, and I didn't know how great it was going to be. And I just knew that we needed her and that she was going to be a part of something really special. She was going to create something really special and unique for us. And she did just that. Like her personality is just I love that kid. Beyond belief. She is something really special. She brings such a fire to this team. Like there is just this thing that she puts out there. Like her energy is just so infectious. If you ever look at any of the stills that were taken of her, like action shots, her faces say it all. So like, and she has like this signature like jump move every time she gets a kill. Those things are what like make her, like they created this fire of like a person on the court. And I honestly, like Emily said in her interview, like I cannot wait to see her in 3 years. I cannot wait to see what she becomes. She's already really great. And I know that she has so much more in her. And she's so young that that's the difference. Like we can create so much more for her. The opportunities are endless right now for her. And she is one of the kids that I looked really hard for. And, you know, be, our first international student, like our first international student athlete. That was
Yeah,
a
I know,
big
a
thing for
Canadian.
us.
Wow, I was gonna say, I
Yeah.
was gonna wait for you to bring that up. I'm like, obviously, we spoke about with Emily and Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
You're making the jokes and
Yeah.
Emily. Oh, but you know what? I mean, that's a big deal to still get somebody from north of the border. I mean, that's a big,
Yeah,
big
it
deal.
was it was a really big get for us as far as, really working to expand and show that we have, the capabilities of going really far and like creating these big moments with people from all over the country and all over the world. We want that. We want to bring that diversity. We want those different people in our lives. That is so makes everything so different. So yeah, like having Jana, like all she does is say yeah, like it's the funniest thing to hear her talk. Um, but we love her. She does. She has these things that she does, and she's missing home, home to us. Like she's in Canada right now, and I
I feel
can,
sorry for her because I think in Quebec they went in a lockdown. In Ontario, it's basically
she
a
is in
lockdown.
Nova Scotia, and she has been on lockdown since she got home. So she's like, I just want to come home, and she considers Five Towns home. She's like, I miss you guys, So it's really, she's a special person, and her what she brings to the team, what she brings to the court. There's just a lot left. What we've seen in 1 year is just the tip of the iceberg, and I cannot wait for the growth.
And I pray that the Canadian government will let these poor people get out of lockdown
Oh,
so they can come home. I mean, my God, I mean,
yes,
it's all over. Listen, it's we speak with all different people across the world, and unfortunately, in Canada, it's like back to square one. But I'm always
yep.
going to make you chuckle because I asked Emily the question. Tim Horton, did you become a big Tim Hortons fan because of Jana? Or
It's funny. Like it's not a thing for me.
okay,
But it's not because I don't like it. It's just not a like she. We really like she really like Americanized herself when she got here.
oh,
She's
okay,
like
okay,
she's like, where's the? I want to try Dunkin' Donuts. We don't have
wow,
that. Like things like that. And so she really got into like she came to us with open mind and open heart kind of thing
okay,
to
okay.
really take in the American tradition, the American style of things. So we did learn a lot from her. She bought us like candies back from, Canada when she went to visit. She bought us like, maple stuff, of course,
Yep.
things like that. But it was never a really big thing, this Tim Horton thing. But I do know Tim Hortons and I have been to one and I do like them. So that's a good thing.
Well, I'm trying to think. I think Boston pizza is the big thing out there in Canada. I'm trying to think of the other thing that is interesting. Obviously, maple syrup is a big thing from Canada. Obviously, that's more, I guess, I don't say Nova Scotia, but more Quebec. Quebec is in that area. And then some of the other things I'm trying to think of is Lotto. I think it's Lotto 666. That's the big Lotto thing out there. So,
Okay.
well, listen, I'm heard in 13 countries, and I have Canadian shows on my station. So a lot of people will be amazed at how much I know about these other countries, because when you're dealing
Yeah.
with other people to get them on. So shout out to Jonah, obviously. But another player that was important that we're going to see back next year is Hayley Newman. And talk to me about Hayley, because I can see you lighting up already. So
I love that kid.
talking to me about the kind of year that she had.
Oh man, she came in raw. Like she has this like drive that she wants to be so much better. Like she just wants to be better. She wants to be her best for you 100% of the time. And when she's not, she is her worst critic. She's her, like she just beats down on herself. And we had to find a way to really take her and embrace her. Literally, I was like, Hayley, it's okay, kind of thing. It's okay to not be perfect. And, I want you to learn. I want you to, let's expand, because we're going to make you a totally different player than what you came in. I promise you. I promise that from day one. And I continue to promise that as we go forward. And she put her trust in myself and Coach Camarada, and she grew faster than I've seen anybody grow. She surprised herself in places that she had no idea. Like she was never a hitter kind of thing in any of her, teams. And she came up really big for us at the end of the season as a hitter, not even as a setter. And it was kind of one of those things, like I was like, we need you here. And she was like, I'm there, coach. That's something that I could say about her. She will go where I need her and not fight about it. Literally be like, all right, coach, I trust you. Like, you know what you're doing. I'm just a follower. Let's do it. Let's put me where I gotta go, kind of thing. I'm right here for you. And she has become such a leader.
Coach,
Girls go to her.
You're getting me excited for the volleyball season. I mean, September.
I should.
I'm getting fired up, Coach. I'm ready to go.
Wait till you see the recruits. We're working real hard.
I'm going to get a chance to hear from them and hear from you more about this.
I hope so.
You got me fired up. Listen, Coach, I mean, you're only, 8 months till the season? It ain't that far from now. I mean, so you got me.
I know. Don't remind me. I got a lot of work to do.
I'm sure you do. Listen, as a coach, it's not like what you see on TV. You're going to gigs. You got your club schedule. You got Zoom calls. You got group chats. You got a family.
All day long.
It's not easy. Trust me. I can certainly sympathize with that. But another player I did want to mention, obviously, one half of the other All-Americans this fall in the USCA is Brianna. Talk to me about Brianna and how important she was also for this team.
Brianna is someone that the first time I saw her play in high school, the first time I saw her play, I was like, I need this girl. What do I got to do to get her? I'm like, she's phenomenal. Like she really has this vision on the court that, is not, you can't teach it. It's just natural. It's instinct. And, I looked at her and her playing style and things that she did. And honestly, like I saw me. And that to me was like, I see how I felt as a teenager playing this sport. I saw that. I saw what she was capable of. And I saw what she wanted to accomplish. And, I went to her coach and I was like, dude, we got to talk. And he was like, what's up? I was like, where does she want to go? What does she want to do? All these things. And he's like, I'll find out for you. And, fortunately for us, she wanted to go to a small school. She liked the idea of staying close enough to home and stuff. So it was God sent. And it worked perfectly. I met her parents. I met her. We talked. And, she has been, such an integral part of what we built this last year. She got injured a couple weeks before the season ended. And honestly, like, we all cried. Because we really knew how important she was to
Mm.
us and what not having her would mean and how hard it meant. Like we had to work. We felt like 100 times harder because now we had to fill shoes for someone that you can't fill. It's just simple. Like it's like Emily. You can't fill those shoes. That person is like a fixed point in your grand scheme of things,
Mm.
and Brianna was that for us. Brianna came up and we needed an outside hitter, which wasn't what I recruited her for. But she took the job and said, "All right, coach, teach me. Like I want to be good at this. Like let's see what I can do for you." And she did it, and she fought through little injuries here and there, things that happen, and it happens. And we worked really hard to try and get her back. This last injury just was took a lot longer, and we prepared for it. I mean, it sucked. It sucked not having her, like just point blank, it sucked. But she is a phenomenal volleyball player. She's a phenomenal person. She's half of the captains on our team. Between her and Emily are our co-captains, and we just made that decision, Coach Camarada and I, because we knew what kind of discipline she had, what kind of leadership qualities she had,
Mm.
and she gave us everything that we needed. Like she really put it out there for us, and getting injured was, oh my god, that was like a freak accident, and it was like the worst case scenario for us. But it taught the girls a lot. They had to really grow even more together to be able to compete and do the things that we needed to do. And we still competed in that championship. We competed. And could we have won? Yeah. But, if we had Brianna, would it have been a little easier? Absolutely. But, that's whenever, a piece of a missing link is, it happens. And, but she is something, she's super smart. She has like a 4.0 GPA. Like I don't even
Wow.
know. I like at least if I'm giving her a 4.0 because I think it's like a 396 or
Oh, okay.
something. I
I
like
would have took. Listen, coach. If I had half that, I would have been happy in college. I had
exactly.
my recruit being recruited.
Exactly. So, she really does work on and off the court. In that classroom, she literally does all her work in like one day. Like,
Wow.
she does not
Wow.
procrastinate. She's not one of those
Wow.
kids. So it just shows her work ethic. And that really, she really is super important to us, especially with, losing Emily as my libero. I I don't see it as the greatest loss at this point because Brianna is filling in behind her. She had a great teacher in Emily.
I couldn't think of a better way than to sum that up. And obviously, shout out, obviously, to Brianna. We look forward to having her back on the court here in the season when it starts in September. And I also wanted to spotlight, because I always like to do this, no matter the team I'm interviewing for the coach or whoever it might be. Talk to me about a few other players that we haven't got a chance to speak with yet that are going to be important to this team next season.
Oh wow. So we have a couple of other returns in Ayana Frank and Caitlin Scott. They those two girls came in no knowledge of volleyball, zero. And I have to tell you, I have not seen growth like that in a long time. Caitlin came in, we bribed her to play volleyball. Literally,
You
we
sure you
bribed
want
her.
me? You sure you want to
Yeah,
say that?
I
You
can
want me to
say
go down
that.
the
Yeah,
list? All
it's
right,
yeah, I can say that. You know how
I'll
we
go
bribed
for
her?
it.
We went to her show. She's in
Oh, okay.
theater.
Oh, okay. All right. All
She's in
right.
theater, and she was,
Oh.
the lead in this particular show. And I was like, "I'll go to your show if you join our team." And she was
Ah.
like, "For real, coach?" And I said, I swear, I promise you right here. And she was like, okay. And it's all she wrote right there. And we've been, she has surprised us at every turn in growing and learning so much. So we look forward to like seeing, what comes next and how much more she's going to grow. Ayana, the same thing. Ayana has a fire, a spirit. It's not even a fire. Ayana has a spirit in her that she brings life to the team, literally in just words, and it's beautiful. And I can't wait to see how infectious she can be for us in the years, next year. Um, we have a couple other here and there, with Emily Ramos and graduated. We graduated Emily, we graduated Rosie and Ali, and all of those are losses for us.
Oh, you
They're
still got some players though. Don't listen. Don't
no,
forget.
no, absolutely no. But all of those are losses for us
Okay.
because those girls really gave their 110%. They really did, and it was all I could ask for. People counted them out early. They were like, they'll never be able to do that. Like, no way, not those girls. And at the end of the day, like, man, did they show them? That's all I say about that. Like, I love to see, the underdog, show up and, be great. And every girl out there is gonna be that, like for 5 times right now, because we are the underdogs for everything. And we shouldn't be. We're regular season champions. But that's how people see us right now still. And I can't wait to surprise them all.
Well, not so fast, my friend, because that ain't going to be for much longer. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing here with your team, what we're doing with the entire program, we ain't going to be underdogs much longer. So I can assure you
Exactly.
that those days, they're going to be counting by the clock in terms of when we become the team that's hunted, the program that's hunted. Because at the end of the day, everybody's going to want to aspire to be like Five Towns College, and especially the women's volleyball team. And I think two of those reasons why that we're going to aspire to eventually be like you and this team and everybody else here at Five Towns is because talk to me about those two wins in the regular season. The last one against Yeshiva and the one in Kings. For my money, my opinion, those are the two biggest wins of the season. Give me your thoughts on those games and the symbolisis of them.
We'll talk about Yeshiva first. So
Okay.
Yeshiva for us was senior night. It meant more to us than any other game, as far as you know the reality of things. And um, it was we weren't there to beat up on anybody or do anything. That wasn't what we were there for. Honestly, we were there to have a great time, show that these girls are capable, and let them play this game the way it was meant to be played. Like not not just all out competition. Have fun. That's what Yeshiva was for us. Yeshiva was a game before Kings to get it all out. Like get out all those things now and let's have a little fun and show what we got. Show off a little bit, show those talents, do the things, try all those things, and that's really going into the championships off of that um, was like riding a little high. So it helps us to propel into that game because we already knew in a couple of days we're going into championships and this is the only game we got in the last 2 weeks. Let's do it up. Let's go out with a bang, and that's what we pushed for. We wanted our crowd to be like, yeah, we'll be here on Saturday to see the rest, and that's what we did. But the Kings game, that was like tear my heart out, throw it on the floor, pick it back up, put it in. That's all that was happening the whole game. Um, that 5 game, that just comes down to heart, straight heart. Like, I mean, and conditioning. Don't get me wrong, conditioning. Because my girls will tell you that had I not ran them into the ground, they may not have made it 5 sets. Because you could tell the difference from one team to the other. as far as the ability to push through when you're tired.
Okay.
Um, I work my girls really hard. We start that in the preseason, and I make sure that they're prepared because, 5 game sets work. They exist, and we need to make sure we are the ones that come out victorious. The person who has the most will, the most stamina, and the most heart at the end of it is the one who's going to take that. It's every time. Um, and for us, we wanted that game. We wanted that game so bad that we put everything out there and every player contributed. There was not one person that did not put something into that game. And that was what was so special about it. It was like winning the championship, literally. Like we saw the possibilities because we knew at the end of the day it was going to come down to us two. And we needed to take that game to prove that we could beat them and to prove that we're a force to be reckoned with. And we did that. And you know, it's one of those things that you look at that game over and over again and you figure out all the good things and figure out what was the difference maker. And it really ended up that will, that want, that was the difference maker. Like all my timeouts, all those things, that's great. You know, I get little chats here and there, and giving them a little, but
Uh,
at the end of the day, in those chats, you know what I tell them for the most part? Believe in yourself. I've given you everything I can give you. You six are out there right now, and you are gonna make the difference. I cannot play the game for you. You have to want that. That's something you have to do, and you got to want it together. And I promise you will be successful if you do that. And that's what they did. They put it all out there. They literally said, "I got you, coach. I'm in. Let's go, let's do it." And that's it.
and ladies and gentlemen, that's the reason why Christy Herring was one half of the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Coach of the Year. That's why our girls brought it home and won that regular season championship and had that big win against Kings, that big win non-conference against Yeshiva. And these are reasons why we are going to be a championship team in 2022 and go into the USCA Nationals. And we've got another, I'd say, 20 or so minutes with Coach Herring. It is a tremendous honor to be able to speak with her and get her side of the story. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. Coach, I want to bring it up because if I didn't bring it up after teasing it so much here throughout the segment, I wouldn't be doing my job. And that is Coach Camerata, the other half of the Coach of the Year here in this conference. You have a relationship that it's very special. And I'm not just saying it because you're on, because I speak with all different types of people, all different types of coaches, right? And I was trying to think about this because I've probably spoken to maybe 400 or 500 different people in 3 years I'm doing it. And I couldn't think legitimately of a scenario where a coach duo had been together for as long as you guys have had been. It's very special. It's really unique. You can find it anywhere. Look it up. I don't know if I've occurred in the situation. Again, I've interviewed, probably between 400 to 500 people in my 3 years, and I have not come across a circumstance like this. It's very special. It's one in a million. Talk to me about Coach Camerata. Why not only is she so special to this team, our program, but most importantly, you. And
Um,
don't cry on me, by the way.
I'm trying not to. She is my best friend, literally my best friend. Um, we played against each other in high school. Her other best friend and I played on the same club volleyball team together, ironically, not knowing, that they were friends.
Okay.
When I went to LIU, 2 years into LIU, who walks in the door? Here comes Coach Trey. And she becomes my best friend from that moment forward. We were co captains together in college. We played together in college. She was in my wedding. We it's just a tale like no other when I talk about her and our relationship and the things we've been through together. Um, you know, she took some time. She was living in, Colorado for a while and things like that, and she did her thing and she came back home, and I was coaching at McClancy, and my assistant wasn't able to coach that year, and I said, you know what, you know, maybe she'd be open to it. She's back home. She's I'll ask. You know, and I reached out to her, and she was like, hell yeah. She's like, I miss it so much, and I would definitely want to do it by your side. And I said, all right, let's do it. And that was, it's got to be at least 6 or 7 years ago when she, started with me at McClancy. That has to more than that because I've been at 5 times 3 years. I was at McClancy 6 years. Yeah, it's been a long time.
I'm not counting, Coach. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
I don't even know. It's been a long time, but she has been by my side for the last at least 6 years on the coaching aspect, and she's irreplaceable as a coach, as a friend, as a mentor for these girls. They they look at her and they see strength. Um, she exudes this energy, this power that is she's we are yin to yang. Like when I'm hot, she's cold. When she's cold, it's like we know how to balance each other. And we know when someone's angry, the other one's not. Like we know that. Like we literally feed off of that. People watch us and watch the dynamic that we have with one another, and like they're like, it's amazing to see it. Like to watch you guys interact and like the difference that how you handle the girls differently but the same. Like it's just weird. And I'm like, it's it's more than volleyball for us. And she has grown to love volleyball all over again by coaching. And she's still learning. She's literally still learning. Like there's things that she's like, I had no idea. Like this was a thing, Chris. And I was like, yeah, like we're learning together. Like she's teaching me things about, you know, teaching these kids, like in a different aspect and like how that works and the breakdown of those things. And like these girls look to her like a second mom. Literally, Jana calls her mom.
Well, we heard what Emily had to say about you guys. I mean, so we knew that was kind of going that way.
Yeah, and she's just um as Matt once said to me, Coach Trey is doing God's work. And that is 100%. She has been dealt the worst cards you could be dealt for a person to endure in personal life. And she still endures and she still stands and she's a rock. And she's my rock and she's my right hand and my left hand.
Well, good
So
combo.
yeah, I need her on both sides. Um, but she's special and she brings something to those kids um, that without her feels lost. And you know, she writes little notes before every game, and it's something that we started that was done for us as players back at LIU by one of our assistant coach, Rich Borowski, and he in turn left that impression and we kind of paid it forward. So that's been Coach Trey or Coach Camerata. I call it Trey. Coach Camerata's base, job. Like she's like, this is what I need to do. I need to give these girls that little spark before every game. And she every day, every game, she has little notes for them. They're all personalized for each player. Literally, she writes them out herself. They're not typed, they're literally handwritten notes. And the stuff that, little inspirational quotes, things like that, stuff that they could do. And at the beginning of the season, we created like these little memory boxes for the girls.
Sure.
And they painted their own, they personalized them. We did it like a team bonding thing. And they were used for those little quotes. The girls actually keep all those quotes in this box so they can go back and look at them whenever they feel they need a little something. So she's with them all the time. And that's just her. She is really someone special. I could talk for days about her. um, but she is somebody that I'm proud and honored to call her my best friend, my assistant, and my other half of coaching staff of the year. She deserved
Yes,
that.
that's the big one. I'm glad that you got the hang of it. She's one half of the coach of the year. You guys are
Absolutely.
certainly the dynamic duo here at Five Towns College. And when I heard you say she's the rock, she's definitely our people's champion of Five Towns College. So I'm sure Coach Camerata would appreciate that sentiment and that gesture because she is definitely our people's champion here of this program. But you did mention Rich Borowski. And I did want to mention because you brought him up, and I know he was also important to your journey. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention him and how important he is to you to where you are today.
Um, Rich is why I'm coaching at Five Towns. Um, I've known Rich since I was, I think, a junior in college, I want to say.
Okay.
He was our assistant coach back then. He was a young guy out of Arizona, came back into Long Beach, and he was living in Long Beach, coaching alongside Mike Mazzone at LIU Brooklyn, and he stuck with me. Like, we've been friends since, like, from college to adults, like, past all this. We're still friends to this day. We text each other every once in a while. Hey, how's everything going? That kind of thing. But I was looking for, a new job to coach volleyball. I was still coaching at the high school level, but I wanted to get back in the college scene. And I had touched base with him. He was a coach at Old Westbury at the time.
Okay.
And he was deciding to step down from the volleyball team because he was doing softball, and he wanted to kind of give me the opportunity to apply there. So I did. Um, that went a little back and forth and stuff, and they didn't make decisions or whatever. And he's like, listen, Chris, like, don't even, like, let's not even bother right now with that. It is what it is. I don't know what's going on. It was kind of some weird dynamic that was happening over there. So I was like, all right, whatever. And then he said to me, I spoke to this guy, Matt Gurcio, and he's looking for a volleyball coach, and I gave him your name. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, who else's name was I going to give? And I was like, okay, I appreciate that. Like, what is this about? He's like, well, they're looking for a volleyball coach, they're looking, brand new program, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, thanks. And I reached out to Matt, and it's been history since. And, I'm thankful that Rich thought enough of me to know that I was capable of building a program and doing it from scratch here at Five Towns, and that Matt would, welcome me in with open arms, and that, he would know that I was the right choice. And here we are 3 years later, and, thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich, for doing that because this is why the program is where it is today. And obviously, that's why we know that 2022 is going to be a big year for the program. And you did mention Matt Gurcio, and I always like to ask everybody here at Five Towns because he is pretty much our leader. He is our athletic director. And I got to ask you, for you, and I know you kind of gave us a little bit of a taste of that, but what does Matt Gurcio mean to you and the team?
Um, Matt is the guy who has the bleeding heart. That's, like, straight up, that's Matt. I go to him and I'm like, Matt, we really need this. Like, we need to talk. Like, we need this. The volleyball team needs this. Like, it's really important. And he's like, all right, Chris. He's like, I'm gonna do what I can. Like, send me everything. Like, let's do this. And this is from day one. There has never been a time where he turns around and is like, are you crazy? No. He's always really open, and it's really refreshing to, have an athletic director that is open to listen and hear, and not just, it's not just in one ear out the other. He really wants the change. He really wants to see great things happen at Five Towns, and he's going to do whatever it takes. And, it starts with him. It all starts with him. And he is our leader, and we follow suit right behind him. And without him, this would be a very different experience. And um, I'm happy and glad that he is our leader at this point, that he is the person that we can go to and know that he has our back. And that's, super important when you're running a program and you want success, but you also want, you want it to feel good. You just don't want it, you don't want to go to your job and like be like, oh, here I go, going back to my job because it sucks. Like, that's not the feeling we have. And with Matt at the helm, it's been a great experience, and we love him. And, I was literally on the phone with him yesterday and this morning. So,
Well, I'm sure you will, and I'm sure he'll be on the phone with you again tomorrow morning and the following morning. And as
yeah,
he always
we're
says,
always working.
when he calls me periodically, because admittedly I can't answer the phone every time, but when he does, he'll go live from Staten Island because I'm on Staten Island. So I think it's kind of his way of greeting
Yeah,
me.
he loves things like that, and
Yeah.
he's a great guy.
Yep. No, listen, and I want to give him a shout out. Most importantly, and I want everybody to follow him on Instagram at FTCAD. Also, I want everybody to follow our volleyball coach, Christy Herring, also on Instagram at VBCoach07. Also, of course, the women's volleyball team, FTC Women's Volleyball. But again, Matt, I want to shout out because it was 2 years ago, right? Just around this time when I spoke with John Matego, because I know John Matego somewhat well, and he reached out to me, Matt Gurcio, and said, "Oh, you spoke to Coach Mateko, who was obviously the previous athletic director here at Five Towns, and
Yeah.
he had been obviously a legendary basketball coach, yada yada yada." And he said, I got this program, Five Towns. Would you have any interest in it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I do this every week, all the time. And, since then, we've been talking pretty much even through COVID. We've been talking Five Towns in the athletics program. Although I'll make it chuckle. The one thing I really won't talk about is the esports program on it, because I love Thomas O'Keefe, but you can't get me to recap video games. I mean, I know they spent so much in playing these different games, whether it's FIFA, Madden, and Call of Duty, but it's so hard for me to sit there and, well, how did that game go? Well, what did you do when you toggled that button? I mean, and I kind of play video games. I mean, I've played it in drips and drabs, but that's the one thing at Five Towns I've kind of had a hard time in kind of gauging. Everything else I'm all in for, but in all seriousness,
I
shout out
feel
to
you.
yeah, listen, it's hard. You can't get me to break down something that's like not active physically. It's
Yeah,
hard. I
I
mean, there's a
got
lot
you.
of it's hard. That's all I'm gonna say. But shout out to everybody there at esports. But most importantly, shout out to Matt Gurcio. But before I get closing thoughts and a few other thoughts from you, I did want to talk one more time about your captain, your other captain, Emily Angel Astor. Obviously, we spent a lot of time with her a couple of weeks ago. And I want to give you another crack at saying anything else about her. I know you're already on the record saying we want to get her back on staff for 2022, but sum it up to me, because I think in a lot of ways she's more important than what she meant on the court to the school. Because if you think about some of our athletes here, whether it's soccer, whether it's the basketball, even esports, I'll throw it in there. But Emily is really the one. She's the first superstar that we had here at Five Towns. I speak about all these different athletes, Damani Marin and Angel Chavez, even Sebastian Montenegro. They're all great. But Emily was the first superstar athlete that we really had that was recruited here. That's why I think her importance goes above and beyond what she did for us on the court. So talk to me about her impact, not only to you with the team, but I think also for where we are right now with this program.
Emily is someone that is just um she brings so much to the table. Like, she's witty, she's smart, she's um she's funny. She cracks us up all the time, like she has her what we call her blonde moments, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay.
um, because she really is someone special. Her leadership qualities on and off the court, because like these girls and like other teams, really flock to her. Sebastian is one of her best friends.
Yeah, he mentioned
Um,
it last night on the show. He mentioned it.
yeah,
He
he's one
blurted
of
it
their
out.
best friends, and he, the support that they bring one another, and what they bring to the teams, they actually create a really great dynamic for, cross promotions with all our teams and stuff like that, and the school. Um, Her being on the radio, like that is just something like she's so good at. And
Yeah, she's very well
um,
spoken. I got to be honest with you, Coach.
yeah,
I speak with people all the time, and I think I told you this even on the air and off the air. Certainly, I mean, she's like well beyond her years in terms of like her speech, her tone. I mean, I've interviewed professional athletes who are even like a year or two younger than Emily. I had a New York Met prospect a couple of years ago, and the guy was like, "Uh." And in fact, I'll even make a chuckle. I interviewed because I have a background in news. I had a state senator on from the Hudson Valley, and it was like this was right around before the election, and it was like this poor woman was like, "You're a state senator, you can't even talk." Emily, on the other hand, it's like she's like she could be like a newscaster. She's like that good.
yeah, and that's just something that there translates everywhere for her. That just shows you how dynamic she is. Like literally her friends love her, her family, like her mom and her dad, we love them. They're such great, like we see where she blossomed from, you know,
Mm.
the influence of her sister, like things like that. Those things created this beautiful human, because she's not just this great volleyball player, she's not just this great captain, she's a great leader, she's a great friend, she's a great role model. This is why she was my captain. You know, People aspire to be like her. And she probably hears that and she's like, hell no, nobody wants to be like me. What are you, crazy? I don't know what I'm doing half the time. And I'm like, yeah, but you give off this air of, you know, nonchalant confidence. Like you just know. And she changes everything. Like her ability in social media and like things like that, like her ability to cross over into so many different areas of, between school and, like a workplace, and all the different aspects of her social life and things like that. Like she is someone really special, and I know she's going to do great things. And even if it's not volleyball related, but it better be volleyball related. No, but I want her to be so successful, and I know that she will be at anything that she does, because she just has that personality that is infectious and people love her. And I know that, that with her skills and everything else is just going to be so much, bring something so different to the world, and she's really going to make a change in this world, and have a real impact. And I can't wait to say I know her. Be like that. Like I know that girl. Like she's in my phone. I can call her right now. You want me to? That kind of thing. Um, she's near and dear to my heart, and I'm glad that we get to share her with the world, and they get to see her on, on this platform as well, and know her, because to know her is to love her.
No, absolutely no. Again, and I think that was well said because you know her better than anybody, and that's the sense that I get from Emily is that she's going to cross over and do so many great things. Obviously, we know she's going to still be a coach here at Five Towns. We're going to make sure that we hammer that point across. But obviously, in terms of her reach, and she's very well good at that. She's good at different things, and you could tell that she can cross reference and get along with different people, and that's why I think again she's very wise beyond her years because there are people out there I speak to them all the time and they're like one trick ponies. She's not. And I think that that's what will serve her well. And especially when it comes to recruiting for us for the volleyball team. So I'm going to still make sure I hammer that point across because we're not giving up on that. So certainly shout out, though, most importantly to Emily. But Coach, I know you're a busy person and there's a couple other things I want to ask you before we get off. And obviously it's a tremendous honor. We're honored the fact that you even took the time out of your busy day, whether it's recruiting, coaching, family life, to give us this opportunity to speak with you, share your story, most importantly, share this team story. But give me your goals for 2022. Could be for the team or anything.
Okay, our goals. I say this to every recruit. I say this to all my girls. Our goals are: one, to become regular season champions; two, to become Hudson Conference
I know.
champions.
I got to be honest. It's such an annoying thing to consider. First, I got
I
it
know,
wrong.
I'm like,
I used to call
it's
it the
whatever.
Hudson Intercollegiate. And this was like 3
Yeah,
years ago before I even did Five Towns. Because I know that we've done a few other schools that were in this conference in the past, like when St. Joseph's Brooklyn used to be here. So I
yeah,
know the conference, and even then I used to get it wrong. So it's a
yeah.
little. They
So,
gotta change the name. Can they change the name already?
I don't know. Well, I'll say it.
How about the Hudson
HBIAC.
Athletic Conference? How about just the Hudson Athletic Conference? What's this
Yeah, that would be.
intercollegiate? It's like
I
goofy.
don't.
Just call yourself the Hudson Athletic Conference. Get it over with. Goodbye.
Yeah, it works for me too. But we plan to do our those are our goals. So our goal is to be regular season champions. Our goal is to be conference champions, and our goal is to go to nationals. Um, we're those are the ones that we see that are tangible. That is, something we can do, and we are going to work all year, and to create that atmosphere and make that happen. That's the dream goal right now. Like we don't want to settle for anything less than that, and we know that it's possible. It was in our reach this year, so we're going up. We're just going to continue going up. There's no going backwards. We're focusing on all the things that we really want, all the dreams and hopes and aspirations that these girls have. um, my job is to make those come true. So
They will
that's my
definitely come true.
goals.
They will definitely come true. And like Annie Lennox used to say, sweet dreams are made of Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference champions. And I'm thinking
Exactly.
about what was the song? I'm coming up. And then they go on. I'm not going to sing the rest
Yes.
of the jingle, but that's kind of what I'm thinking of here right now. Because we do play music on Sportswire. I actually do have
Okay.
some music. So we have two DJs. So I do have a little bit of a music sense and a music taste. So I like to
Okay.
pick some of the music. So we had some of that in mind. But obviously, those are the things that are going to be reasons why we win the conference and go to USCA and do very well in the nationals. But I also want to ask you, and I like to ask it to everybody who comes on here, is there one or two moments that stand out most? It could be at Five Towns, it could be at your volleyball career, anything you want. You can even answer it as a part A, part B. But give me one or two things then at Five Towns that stand out most so far, and one or two things elsewhere in your career in volleyball that stand out most to you.
um I guess we could start. I'll go back and then come forward.
Okay.
Um when I was coaching at St. Francis College in Brooklyn, um, I took on that job. I was originally the assistant coach. A friend of mine was the head coach, and we started working together. She said to me, she said, "Christy," she said, "I think we need to change roles here." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, um, "I think I'm more of an assistant coach, and I think you're more of a head coach." She's like, "You really know this game. Like, I know this game, but you really know this game. And I think I can learn from you. And I think that's what I want to do." And that changed my career path totally. So that moment brought me to where I am today. That moment gave me opportunities that I may not have had, prior to that. And coming out as a head coach and taking a team that hadn't won a game in 5 years at St. Francis, not one set in 5 years, and working for that. Like I made history there. My name is engraved in like a record book there for the first win in 5 years. That was a big thing for me, and like it was like this huge like ordeal. So for me, that was a really standout moment. And going back to my alma mater and coaching there, at Christ the King, um, coaching there and winning, that was a great feeling to bring back the championship back to Christ the King. It hadn't been there in over 10 years. And we went in, and 2 years later, you know, both my JV and varsity, won championships. And it was a beautiful feeling to be able to bring that back to my alma mater, where it all started for me, really, and give them back something really special, and be a part of that. So those were moments, I think, back before anything else that really stood out for me. As far as being at Five Towns, honestly, like every moment at Five Towns is a special moment for me, because they're all different. Every time I walk into the school, it's something different. But I think this year for us, it was getting to the championships and knowing how close we were. That really this time around, because we went to the championships the time before that, and it was not the same. This time was different. This time it really meant something, like to us. Like we really worked for 2 weeks to like get to where we wanted to be, and I think that um, that moment is forever ingrained in my memory, in my heart. And of course, you know, the honor of being named coaching staff of the year, that again is something that is just immeasurable. That moment right there was so special for us. Even in the heartache that we were in, we knew how much that meant to us, like as coaches, as being recognized. That to us right there, those were big moments, and those are things that I will forever remember. Um, you know, so I think those were the really standout things, and being a part of Emily's story, that is important.
These are, listen, ladies and gentlemen, these are some big accomplishments here. Gets a first win at a D1 program in many, many moons. Christ the King, and everybody knows Christ the King. You had success there. 5 towns. And the only thing I'm going to add before we get closing thoughts, because I saw what you guys kind of got when it comes to these different awards. We got to get something bigger here in the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. I was talking about it in some of the other sports and some of the other players. We got to get like a wrestling belt or a world championship belt. Coach of the year or the trophy. It can't be this goofy little like $99 plaque that they built at like some local engravery where they used to like build like your CYO garb. I mean, we gotta get like a championship. I'm not saying Dr. Cohn should shell out like $500 and just buy an engraved championship belt saying Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference champions, 5-town
I
college women's
mean,
volleyball. Well, you know what? I'll say it because I'm not an employee. Coach can't say it, but I'll say it. Listen, when our teams win something, we got to go all in. I mean, I want to see like belts. I want to see like rings. Like, I don't want to see these goofy little like participation trophies that I used to get like in CYO at like the 4th grade because my parents paid the money so I could play basketball and be babysat, basically. I want to see like the WWE championship belt. I want to see like the WCW championship belt. So I want to see something. My guy Reynaldo, the LWF world champion, he's got this fancy belt. So when we win next year, I'm saying it, Dr. Cohn, Matt Gurcio, everybody else that wants to listen. When Coach and her team wins the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, the conference championship, and then they go to USCA's, let's make sure we go all in and get them a belt. Something that like we can really go around and show off. Not these goofy participation trophies. That's my rant. You want to get at me? I'm on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. Matt Gurcio has my phone number. Dr. Cohn, you want to call me and go on about it and you have a problem, I'm all in. So listen, that's my rant. Coach, you don't have to endorse that, but that's what I'm suggesting for the volleyball team when you guys win that championship. So that's what I'm saying. I want to see a belt. I want to see everybody walk around with it so we can show it off because we know that you
yes.
guys are going to get the job done. But obviously, it is a tremendous honor. And I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day for giving us this chance here to share not only your story, but the girls' story and the program story here, the 5-town sound women's volleyball team. We definitely heard the sound here loud and proud. It is definitely sound on when we hear this team and you guys are back on the court back in September. I am looking forward to covering this team. I'm looking forward to speaking with more of your players here in the coming weeks here. But in the meantime, I want to give you the floor, Coach. I want to give you any closing thoughts, anything you want to plug, anything else you want to plug that we've plugged already or we haven't plugged. Anything you want to say to anybody out there, whether it's friends, family, 5 towns, anybody that might come here, whatever else, I'm giving you the floor now. I can't thank you enough, and fire away.
Really, I just want to, say that, 5 towns women's volleyball is up and coming and we are growing exponentially and we, we want this program to be great, and we want girls to come in, young women to come into this program and be a part of this great family. So anybody out there that, is watching this and saying, hey, listen, I really want to be a part of something great like that, you can find us on Instagram. You can, message us there as well. But Five Towns itself is a place to call home. And if that's a place that you want to be a part of, you want to feel like you're at home while experiencing college and, doing all the things and playing the sport, then we are the place for you. But outside of that, this has been an honor talking to you and like really getting through it all and like talking about the the history behind my career and where I'm at now, but more importantly about what Five Towns means to me, this program, to the girls, and potential people to come from the future. This is going to forever be there for somebody to go back and say, hey, let me find out about that school and that coach and that team, because I want to hear what they have to say. And this is a great platform for, for us to be able to do that, and for, recruits and stuff to see us and understand like where we're coming from and what we're really about. So I thank you for asking me. I'm honored and humbled to have been a part of this. Obviously I plan to be back on here again at some point, and definitely, definitely be a part. I'll be on here when I'm coming back with the championship belt.
Okay? Oh, I want to see it. Listen, because I don't want to see again these goofy participation trophies. I look at them and it's like, really, this is what I mean. And it was great. Listen, congratulations on winning the trophies, no question, and these little like awards. But we can do better than this. I mean, we can definitely have a belt. We can definitely do something better than these participation trophies that remind me of like 1996 CYO basketball when I played in junior high school. We got to do better than this, and we are going to definitely do better than this, because Coach Herring is going to bring home that championship. We are going to have a great season. There are so many great players like Jonah, like Hayley, like Brianna, like some other players like Caitlin Scott. They're going to be back on this team, and I'm very, very excited about them. I'm looking forward to speaking with them here in the coming weeks. I'm looking forward to covering these games here, so very excited about that. Congratulations, Coach, on all the success. I can't thank you enough for the opportunity. Happy New Year. Go get him out there in recruiting, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you soon. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
As we're here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show with our number one volleyball coach around. That is, of course, one half of the dynamic duo that won the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Coach of the Year, and also the head coach for our regular season champions here in the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. That is our women's volleyball team out of Five Towns College. That is our head coach, Christy Herring, and I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. If you're listening to us live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, we'll be back here Friday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to hear me ramble about all the latest happenings in the world of sports, I will be back. In the meantime, if you're on sportnarium.com/play, we'll have some new content for you maybe in 45 minutes or so. And not that anybody's going to really care about what I'm playing at this point, because we've heard coach, and that's the most important part. But hang on tight for a little while. But obviously, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, thank you for watching. We'll be back here Friday night, and we were just with Christy Herring of our Five Town Sound women's volleyball team. Good night, everybody. We'll be back with you here Friday night. We're on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station, sportnarium.com/player. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, as we were just with Christy Herring, our head coach of our Five Town Sound women's volleyball team. Good night, everybody. Okay, let's turn that off.